Namaskar. Swami A is traveling, so I will be studying the Gospel with you this evening. So this chapter 8 in the English Gospel on page 181, the Master's Birthday celebration at Dakshineswar, Sunday, February 18, 1883. In the Bengali edition, it is page 138. বেলুরগড়ে বেলুরগড়ে গ্রামে গোবিন্দ মুখোপাধ্যায়ের বাটিতে Sri Ramakrishna Narendra Pravritti Bhakta Sangha Kirtanande. This is 18th February 1883. Page 138. Let us begin with the prayer. Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavipiriditam Kalmashapagam Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Dilganantite Bhurida Jana. Om, your words are like nectar, bringing life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Master's birthday celebration at Dakshineswar, Sunday, February 18, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at Govinda Mukherjee's house in Bulgaria, near Calcutta. Besides Narendra, Ram, and other devotees, some of Govinda's neighbors were present. The master first sang and danced with the devotees. After the kirtan, they sat down. Many saluted the master. Now and then he would say, "Bow before God, bow before God." It is God alone, he said, who has become all this. But in certain places, for instance, in a holy man, there is a greater manifestation than in others. You may say there are wicked men also. That is true. Even as there are tigers and lions, but one need not hug the tiger god. One should keep away from him and salute him from a distance. Take water, for instance. Some water may be drunk, some may be used for worship, some for bathing, and some only for washing dishes. There's so much variation in nature. Even if we just take human beings, it's a very wide spectrum of beings are there. Some very highly qualified, most sattvic people, educated, cultured, endowed with humility, all good virtues. But one end of the spectrum, at the other end, we see very wicked people indulging in violence and very undesirable lifestyle. In between are all other kinds of people. So this we see in nature, variety. So why there is so much nature if God is present in all of them? Why there is so much difference from person to person? everybody should be very nice and good because God is present in everyone. And this was answered here by Sri Ramakrishna. No doubt God is present in all, but his manifestation is different from person to person. Some are very sattvic people, and some are very tamasic people, and in between there are other people. This can be explained with the help of an example. The sunlight falls on in the same way on all the objects on this earth. Same amount of light falls on all the objects at a given time. But every object reflects the sunlight to a different degree. Some reflect almost all the light that fall on them, very bright objects. If you keep a piece of mirror or glass outside in sunlight, it shines very brightly. All the light, almost all that falls on the light that falls on the piece of glass or mirror is reflected. But some other objects reflect to a less extent, and some, if there is a black substance, it absorbs almost all the sunlight and does not reflect much. But the amount of sunlight that falls on all those things are the same. In the same way, God's presence is the same. To what extent his presence is reflected, manifest in each person's life depends on that person's degree of purity. Very pure people with very pure minds, there in them you can see they are holy people. Mahatmas, in their life you can see the presence of God vividly. We feel that one. And on the other end, there are some people, wicked people, in whom God is present, but his presence is hidden under layers of tamas and ignorance. They don't feel the presence of God in them, and we can't feel the presence of God in them. So that is the nature of creation, variety. One should keep away from him, wicked people, and salute him from a distance. Tiger also, God is present, but we should not go near the tiger. From a distance, we should say, I bow down to you. Take water, for instance. Some water may be drunk, some may be used for worship, some for bathing, and some only for washing dishes. Variety in quality. A neighbor, revered sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta? Master, the Vedantist says, I am he. Brahman is real and the world illusory. Even the I is illusory. Only the Supreme Brahman exists. The teachings of Vedanta. Only Brahman is there, it is real. All else that we see the world is unreal in the sense it comes and goes and it changes every moment. But the I cannot be got rid of. Therefore, it is good to have the feeling, I am the servant of God, his son, his devotee. This is called the ripe ego. Unripe ego is feeling that I am a great person, I know this much, I have this much money, I'm rich, I'm powerful, I know everything, I'm genius. That is, some people feel like that one. Pride. And other people very humble. So these people who have very strong ego think they are the great people. They have the unripe ego. But those other people, sattvic people with humility, they say, I am a child of God. I'm a devotee of God. I'm a servant of God. That I is not harmful. It is ripe I, that is pakami, that is good. Ideal is to give up the I altogether completely and only the Lord remains, Brahman remains. That is a very high stage. The Vedanta says, I am He, Brahman is real and the world illusory. Even the I is illusory. Only the Supreme Brahman exists. But the I cannot be got rid of. Therefore, it is good to have the feeling, I am the servant of God, His son, His devotee. For the Kali Yuga, the path of bhakti is especially good. One can realize God through bhakti too. As long as one is conscious of the body, one is also conscious of objects, form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. These are the objects, five kinds of sense objects. Sense objects that we can see with our eyes, sense objects you can hear the sound you can hear with the ears, sense objects which we can touch and taste and smell. Form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. These are the objects. It is extremely difficult to get rid of the consciousness of objects, and one cannot realize I am He as long as one is aware of objects. If our mind is diverted towards sense objects outside, then it cannot dwell on the self within. So when we withdraw the mind completely from all sense objects and focus attention entirely on the self within, then we can experience divine presence within us. I am He as long as one is aware of objects. The sannyasi is very little conscious of worldly objects. Ideally, the sannyasi should be very little conscious of worldly objects. That means most of his mind or her mind, sannyasis can be women also, should be directed towards God within, not towards the world outside. But the householder is always engrossed in them, in sense objects. Therefore, it is good for him to feel, I am the servant of God. Necessarily, because householders have a family to support, they have to have a job to make money to support the family, and there are a lot of concerns about well-being of the family, work-related activities, and stressful job. So, in these things, householders' attention is divided. Not much time left to think about God. So that phase of life is like that. And then once the householder's responsibility is completed, one moves on to the next ashrama, retirement, vanaprastha ashrama. That used to be the tradition. The sannyasi is very little conscious of worldly objects, but the householder is always engrossed in them. Therefore, it is good for him to feel, I am the servant of God. It's not right for a householder to say, I am He, I am Brahman. Because most of the time, householders' mind is on the world, sense objects, work, and other concerns, property management, money, how to pay the bills. So mind is occupied with these things. So that person cannot say I am Brahman, because one is body conscious. To do all this work, one has to have body consciousness. So to get to all the work related to household and the job, one has mind goes outside to sense objects. So for such a person to say, I am He, according to Vedanta, I am Brahman, is not suitable. For them, the path of bhakti, devotion to God, is most suitable. Therefore, it is good for him to feel I am the servant of God. I have to be there still. I cannot be given up. So, better to say I am the servant of God. I am a child of God. I am a devotee of God. I will still be there. Neighbor, sir, we are sinners. What will happen to us? Sri Ramakrishna, all the sins of the body will fly away if one chants the name of God and sings His glories. The birds of sin dwell in the trees of the body. Singing the name of God is like clapping your hands. As at a clap of the hands, the birds in the tree fly away. So do our sins disappear at the chanting of God's name and glories. This instruction, chant God's name and sing His glories, is one of the most important instruction that comes. Sri Ramakrishna gives this instruction very often, beginning with the first instruction he gave to M in their second meeting. Chant the name of the Lord and His glories. The name of the Lord carries the power of the Lord. The infinite power of God is hidden in every name of God. So the more we repeat God's name, the mind becomes purer and purer. So by repeating God's name constantly and chanting God's glories, one can purify the mind. As at a clap of the hands, the birds in the tree fly away, so do our sins disappear at the chanting of God's name and glories. Again, you find that the water of a reservoir dug in a meadow is evaporated by the heat of the sun. Likewise, the water of the reservoir of sin is dried up by the singing of the name and glories of God. Chanting God's name and singing His glories, the simplest and easiest way that anybody can do to purify one's mind. You must practice it every day. The other day at the circus, I saw a horse running at top speed with an English woman standing on one foot on its back. How much she must have practiced to acquire that skill. It takes years of practice to acquire such high degree of skill. The same way, it takes years of practice, continuous, diligent practice, chanting God's name and His glories, and doing other devotional practices are necessary to purify the mind. Weep at least once to see God. Weeping means one must have very sincere longing to see God. He calls Vyakulata. Weeping means expressing one deep devotion, sincere longing to see God. Sri Ramakrishna himself would weep at the end of every day during his period of sadhana in Dakshineswar. He would roll on the ground, shedding tears and crying, "Mother, oh mother," saying, "Oh mother, one more day has gone and you have not revealed yourself to me," like that. The degree of longing has to be there. Weep at least once to see God. These then are the two means: practice and passionate attachment to God. That is to say, restlessness of the soul to see Him. One must be restless for God. When that degree of intensity of longing comes, then God realization will be imminent. In the Shikshashtakam, a hymn containing 8 stanzas, these stanzas composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have instructions on how to pray to God with a great intensity. Longing to see God, we have to pray. And when you pray to God, what we should ask of Him. These are all instructions, are all contained in that 8 stanzas, Shikshashtakam by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their one stanza is like this: Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravarsayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. Viraha means separation, the pangs of separation, the pain of separation from Govinda, from the Lord. If a devotee forgets to chant God's name, remember God even for a short period of time, then it appears like an age, a long time has passed. Yuga yitam nimeshena. Nimesha means the time it takes to twinkle the eye, in the twinkling of an eye. That's that much short time. If a devotee say forgets God and thinks about the world, then it appears like he has forgotten God for a very long time. We feel the same thing in our daily experience. If there is somebody very dear to us, and if that person goes away to some other place for some time, and you see him after some time, then you feel, oh, a long time has passed since I saw you. I'm seeing you after a very long time. We feel that long period has passed because every day looks very long when a feeling of separation is very keen, intense. We miss that person so much that this looks like a long time. Yuga yitam nimeshena. One whole age yuga has passed. If a devotee forgets to remember God even for the twinkling of an eye. Then second thing that happens, the longing is so intense, the pain of separation is so intense that copious tears flow from the eyes. Chakshusha pravarsayitam. Monsoon season. Varsha means rain. From the eyes, copious tears of pangs of separation will flow for the devotee. You go, Shunyagitam Jagat Sarvam, whole world appears empty. Shunya means empty, void. Everything is there. All the people are there, things are there, objects are there, work is there, everybody's thing is there, but God is missing from my mind for a short time. Then all these other things, the whole world, they appear meaningless. It is presence of God that makes everything meaningful in the world. Sri Ramakrishna explains this with a parable. If there are a string of zeros, 2 zeros is same as 10 zeros, no value. But if you put one behind the zero, all the zeros become valuable. 1 zero after one is 10, 2 zeros are 100, 3 zeros following one is 1,000, like that one. Every zero becomes very precious, valuable. It's one that makes the zeros valuable. So, like that, it is the presence of God that makes everything in the world meaningful. Otherwise, the objects themselves don't have any meaning. The divine presence in them. The same thing in people also. We love certain people very much, and we think we love that person for other reasons. Really, the real cause for love is divine presence in that other person. That's what attracts us, not the external beauty. Somebody is very handsome, beautiful to look at. Somebody is youthful. Somebody is very rich. We are attracted to rich people, good people. Those are qualities which attract us. But really, what draws us to other people is the divine presence in that other person. That's the source that attracts us. This is explained in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There, Yajnavalkya says to Maitreyi, why does a wife love the husband? She may think because husband is her husband, closest to her, good-looking man, kind man. That's the only reason that she is aware of. The real reason why a wife loves a husband is a divine presence in the husband. Atmanastu kamaya patih priyo bhavati. Pati means a husband becomes dear to a wife because of the divine presence, Atman, in the husband. Same thing, why does the husband love the wife? Not because of her beauty or youth, because the divine presence in her. That's the real attraction. Atmanastu kamaya jaya priya bhavati. Jaya means wife, like this. And then he, at the end of a long string of sentences, Yajnavalkya says, Atmastu kamaya sarvam priya bhavati. Everything that we like, our own bodies and property, money, children, all the things that we like, they become dear to us because divine presence, this God presence of God that makes all of them meaningful. That is the truth here. So you must, sir, practice here. Practice and passionate attachment to God. So you're talking when a devotee prays to God, the intensity of longing must be there. That is the longing that makes God realization possible. If there is a desire to know God is mild and medium, it takes a long time. It has to be made intense. That was talking about that one. Weep at least once to see God. Weeping means expressing deep longing to see God, missing. These then are the two means, practice and passionate attachment to God. Abhyasa and Vyakulata. Practice the chanting God's name, repeating God's name, chanting His glories all the time, and developing longing to see God. Gradually, other things become less and less interesting. Normal thing that people like, money, property, enjoyment, possession, pleasures, all these things, they become gradually lose their appeal as our devotion to God grows. In the beginning, all these things, world, everything is attractive. Our whole attention is on the world. But as our longing for God increases, our attraction for the world decreases to the same extent. Sri Ramakrishna says, as you approach the west, you are moving away from the east. These then are the two means, practice and passionate attachment to God. That is to say, restlessness of the soul to see Him. Be restless to see God. Just like a mother becomes restless for her child, a child becomes restless for its mother, we should become restless for God. I have not seen God. So many years have passed in my life already. Like that. Sri Ramakrishna began his midday meal with the devotees. It was about 1 o'clock. A devotee sang in the courtyard below. There's a song here. Awake, mother, awake. How long thou hast been asleep in the lotus of the Mooladhara. Fulfill thy secret function, mother. Rise to the 1,000-petaled lotus within the head. Sahasrara, from Mooladhara to Sahasrara, Kundalini Shakti has to rise. Where mighty Shiva has his dwelling in the Sahasrara, top of the crown of the head. Swiftly pierce the 6 lotuses and take away my grief, O essence of consciousness. Hearing this song, Sri Ramakrishna went into Samadhi. His whole body became still and his hand remained touching the plate of food. He was eating, but eating stopped, he got absorbed in God consciousness. He could eat no more. After a long time, his mind came down partially to the plane of the sense world. And he said, I want to go downstairs. This was in Govinda Mukherjee's house. A devotee led him down very carefully. Still, in an abstracted mood, he sat near the singer. The song had ended. The master said to him very humbly, Sir, I want to hear the chanting of the mother's name again. He wanted to hear more music, devotional music. So the musician sang, Awake, mother, awake. How long thou hast been asleep in the lotus of the Muladhara. The master again went into ecstasy. That was that day, February 18, 1883. Then next day, 1 week later, February 25, 1883, after his noon meal, the master conversed with the devotees. Ram, Kedar, Nitya Gopal, M, and others had arrived from Calcutta. Rakhal, Harish, Latu, and Hazra were living with the master. Mr. Chaudhary, who had 3 or 4 university degrees, and was a government officer, was also present. He had recently lost his wife and had visited the master several times for peace of mind. One Mr. Chaudhary. Master to Ram and the other devotees. Devotees like Rakhal, Narendra, and Bhavanath may be called Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha means ever perfect. You're born perfect. Some people achieve perfection with a lot of effort after striving for a long time as a result of their spiritual practice. Some people are born perfect. So these were of that nature. Rakhal, Narendra, and Bhavanath were maybe called Nitya Siddha, ever perfect. Their spiritual consciousness has been awake since their very birth. They assume human bodies only to impart spiritual illumination to others. Ordinary jivas like us, we are born, we are not perfect. So, by the grace of God and with our spiritual effort, practices, we have to achieve perfection. Perfection means seeing God, God realization. But Nitya Siddha, they are born perfect. And their birth is not to do any spiritual practice for themselves to become perfect. Their life is meant for serving other people, help other people. There is another class of devotees known as Kripa Siddha. Kripa means compassion. That is to say, those on whom the grace of God descends all of a sudden and who at once attain his vision and knowledge. By the grace of God, they attain perfection, some people. Such people may be likened to a room that has been dark 1,000 years, which, when a lamp is brought into it, becomes light immediately, not little by little. Ignorance is like that one. A person may be ignorant for a whole lifetime. Ignorant means not knowing one's true nature, not knowing God. The person may be very informed about the worldly matter. That is one kind of knowledge, aparavidya, not that. A person is ignorant here in this sense if he or she is not aware of God consciousness, has not seen God. That ignorance will go away in a moment. Doesn't take time, does not go slowly. When the sun of knowledge, self-knowledge dawns, immediately result will come. Not little by little. Those who lead a householder's life should practice spiritual discipline. They should pray eagerly to God in solitude. Solitude. This instruction to pray in solitude comes very often. Same thing Bhagavad Gita says. Sri Krishna says in chapter 6, if one wants to meditate, then one should go into a solitary place. Ekaki rahasi sthitaha. Seated in a secret place, rahas. Ekaki, alone. If there are other people, then there will be conversation. Each affects the other. So prayer in meditation in solitude is recommended. The value of solitude is described nicely in the form of a story in the Bhagavatam. There was a girl of marriageable age in a family in a village, and the parents were looking for a bridegroom for their daughter. And one day, some family of a prospective bridegroom were supposed to visit this family of the girl, and they were expected. And the girl was pounding paddy in her home. In the village, they have to pound the paddy. And when she was pounding the paddy with a mace, she was wearing a number of bangles, glass bangles in either hand. They were making noise. The bracelets were making noise, clinging with each other, clinging to it, with each other. So the girl thought, if I make so much noise when I'm working, the boys' family who are visiting, they think I'm a clumsy worker. So I don't want to give that impression to them. So I don't want to make so much noise when pounding the paddy. So she removed one bangle from each hand. There were 7 or 8 of these. I started pounding again. Still, the remaining bangles were making noise. And then she removed one more from each hand bangle. 4 or 5 were remaining. They were making a little bit of noise. Finally, she moved one by one. Only one bangle was left in each hand. Then she started pounding the paddy. No noise. One, no noise. Even if there were 2 bangles, they were making a little bit of noise by hitting against each other. In the same way, in a big crowd where a lot of people are there, meditation becomes difficult. Our mind is distracted by the presence of other people. Even if there's no don't have any conversation, still their very presence is distraction, is a distraction. So one should practice meditation and prayer in solitude. That was Sri Ramakrishna's instruction. वासे बहूनां कलहो भवेद्वार्ता द्वयोरपि एकवे चरे तस्मात् कुमार्या kankana iva. This sloka is in the Avadhuta Gita. It says, a spiritual seeker must walk alone. Eka iva charet. Not in the company of other people. Then distraction. Each distracts the other. Varta, bhavedvarta, dvayorapi. Even if there are only 2 people, they have conversation with each other. How are you? Did you have breakfast? What did you eat? Like that. Bhavedvarta, dvayorapi. Eka iva charet tasma. Therefore, alone, one person should walk to spiritual practice in solitude. Gives example, Kumarya Kankana iva. Kumarya iva Kankana. Just like the bangles worn by the girl were making noise with each other, in the same way, when more than one person is there, they start conversation and distraction. So prayer in solitude is recommended. God cannot be realized through scholarship. Very lost somewhere. His vision and all. Such people may be likened to a room that has been darkened. Those who lead a householder's life should practice discipline, spiritual discipline. They should pray eagerly to God in solitude. To Mr. Chowdhury, God cannot be realized through scholarship. Who indeed can understand the things of the spirit through reason? No, nor all should strive for devotion to the lotus feet of God. Scholarship is not necessary. We should know the essence of the scriptures. The essence of all scriptures is only 2 things. The goal of life is to realize God and how to realize God. Once that is known, these 2 things are known, then scriptures have done their purpose. New scholarship will only bring name and fame, worldly benefits, but not God realization. That we know. You studied all Vivekachudamani Swamiji, that Shankara himself a great scholar, greatest scholar of Vedanta of all time. He himself says, mere scholarship is not going to bring liberation. Vagbhai Shabdajari Shastra Vyakyana Kaushalam. Shastra Vyakyana Kaushalam means great proficiency in interpreting the scriptures. Some people have that scholarship. Agvai Khari, very flowing language, impressive language. Shabdajari, torrential flow of words, non-stop. This kind of scholars, Vaidushyam Videsham, the scholarship of scholars is Bhuktaye, for enjoyment, worldly benefit will come, name will come, rewards will come, money will come, scholar, appreciation, Mutamuktaye, Mukti, liberation will not come. So this Sri Ramakrishna often said, mere scholarship is of no use. It may make a person proud. I know so many things like that. God cannot be realized through scholarship. Who indeed can understand the things of the spirit through reason? No, all should strive for devotion to lotus feet of God. Emphasize devotion rather than scholarship. Infinite are the glories of God. How little can you fathom them? Can you ever find out the meaning of God's ways? Bhishma was none other than one of the 8 Vasus, but even he shed tears on his bed of arrows. He said, how astonishing! God himself is the companion of the Pandava brothers, and still there is no end to their troubles and sorrows. Who can ever understand the ways of God? Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, waiting for the Uttarana Punya Kala, so he could leave the body. He had the gift of leaving the body anytime he desired. So, it's believed that if a person leaves the body, when the sun is in the northern half of the horizon, half the year is in north, south, half the year is in the goes on the southern path. When the sun is in the north, Uttarayana Punya Kala we call. Uttarayana means 6 months of sun when sun travels in the east. Then if if a person leaves the body, he will go to heaven or reach God. That is the belief. So Bhishma was waiting for that time to come. And then he was shedding tears. People thought he's shedding tears because of the pain. No. When asked, he says, why are you shedding tears? He says, I don't understand the mystery of God. That's why he didn't. He says, I don't know how God works. It's mysterious. Sri Krishna, the Lord himself, was with the Pandavas all their life. Even when they were in the forest, he was with them. Still, they had no end of troubles. They had go through so much suffering. So, who can understand the mysterious ways of God? That's why he was shedding tears. There is no end to their troubles. God himself is the companion of the Pandava brothers, and still there is no end to their troubles and sorrows. Who can ever understand the ways of God? A man thinks, I have practiced a little prayer and austerity, so I have gained a victory over others. But victory and defeat lie with God. I have been a I have seen a prostitute dying in the Ganges and remaining retaining consciousness to the end. I have seen a prostitute dying in the Ganges and retaining consciousness to the end. A prostitute dying in the Ganges end. How can one see God? No. Retaining consciousness to the end. The note is there. Dying in the Ganges while retaining full consciousness is considered by the Hindus an act of great spiritual merit and the result of pious living. Mr. Chowdhury asks, how can one see God? The question frequently used to come, Upai ki, what is the way? So Sri Ramakrishna replies, not with these eyes. God gives one divine eyes, and only then can one behold him. God gave Arjuna divine eyes so that he might see his universal form. The note here says, an allusion to the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 11th chapter, the description of the cosmic form of God. Sri Krishna revealed his cosmic form. The whole universe was in him. So at that time, with the ordinary eyes, Arjuna could not withstand that scene. So powerful. Here I am comfortable seeing this room. A few people sitting here. But I could see the whole building at once, all the 3 floors and all the rooms. It will be difficult to imagine such a vision. Difficult to observe all of that at one time. So the Lord gave Arjuna a special eye. Divyaptanamite chakshuhu. That's what he is referring to. not with these eyes. God gives one divine eyes, and only then can one behold him. God gave Arjuna divine eyes so that he might see his universal form. Your philosophy is mere speculation. It only reasons. God cannot be realized that way. God cannot remain unmoved if you have raga bhakti, that is, love of God with passionate attachment to Him. Raga means attachment. Raga bhakti, as opposed to Vaidhi bhakti, ordinary devotion which people have, they are devoted to God because they want something from God, seeking something from God. That is ordinary devotion. Raga bhakti means no seeking, pure love for God for the sake of love. God cannot remain unmoved if you have raga bhakti, that is, love of God with passionate attachment to Him. Do you know how fond God is of His devotees? Devotees' love? It is like the cow's fondness for fodder mixed with oil cake. The cow gobbles it down greedily. As the devotees longing for God, God also has longing for the devotee, true devotee. The Raga Bhakti is pure love of God, a love that seeks God alone and not any worldly end. Prahlada had it. Suppose you go to a wealthy man every day, but you ask, but you seek no favor of him. You simply love to see him. If he wants to show you favor, you say, "No, sir, I don't need anything. I came just to see you." Such is the love of God for its own sake. You simply love God and don't want anything from Him in return. If you pray to God with a motive to gain something, then it is not pure love. It is love, all right. We are devoted to God, we worship God, but that kind of worship, that kind of devotion is motivated by some desire or fear. In the Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says people worship God with different motivations. They are artha, a person who is in distress, some kind of problem is afflicting that person, family problem, job problem, health problem, children problem, parent problem, relationship problem, something is there. So that person prays to God to make him free from that problem. This artha, person in distress prays to God. That's the motivation. The second person is artharthi, a person who seeks money or something that a person does not have. Artha means any object. A person has no job, jobless man, he prays to God for a job, and a person who has no child, they prays to God for a child, and so on. Seeking something from God that one does not have, hoping that if that missing thing is supplied, one's life will be fuller, happier, and better. That's our thought is prayer. That's the motivation behind the prayer. Jignasu, third kind of devotee, seeking knowledge of God. That is better. Instead of seeking worldly objects, seeking knowledge of God. Oh Lord, reveal your true nature to me. That prayer. Good. And the fourth person does not seek anything. Jnani, even if he needs something, he does not pray. He says, God knows. Love for the sake of love, not motivated by any desire. Such is a pure love that Sri Ramakrishna was describing a raga bhakti. Raga bhakti is pure love of God, a love that seeks nothing, a love that seeks God alone and not any worldly end. Prahlad had it. Suppose you go to a wealthy man every day, but you seek no favor of him. You simply love to see him. If he wants to show you favor, you say, "No, sir, I don't need anything. I came just to see you." Such is the love of God for its own sake. You simply love God and don't want anything from him in return. Then there is a song saying this master sang, though I am never loath to grant salvation. These songs represents Sri Krishna's words. Though I am never loath to grant salvation, I hesitate indeed to grant pure love. Whoever wins pure love surpasses all. He is adored by men. He triumphs over the three worlds. He continued, the gist of the whole thing is that one must develop passionate yearning for God and practice discrimination and renunciation. This is a very special feature of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. Other teachers of devotion like Prahlada, Narada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all taught devotion, how to pray to God, how to have devotion to God, qualities of a devotee, all. But they did not say this one instruction, Viveka, discrimination between real and unreal. Sri Ramakrishna added that one. Every time he talked about devotion, he would say, one must God and practice discrimination and renunciation. Viveka. What is real, what is unreal? God alone is real. And everything else, the whole world is unreal. Unreal means it is there now, not always there, comes and goes and changes all the time. Everything in world changes. Every moment, everything is changing. Some things are changing very rapidly, so we can see them change. From day to day, we can notice the change. Some things change very slowly. Over a period of time, we notice their change. But every day we don't see the change. But everything is changing nonetheless. That's the nature of the world. And everything will go out of existence at some point or other, comes and goes. That's why it is called unreal. Real means one that is always there, no beginning, no end, no change, infinite, eternal, and changeless, free from attributes. Only God fulfills that definition, that requirement. God is only real, always there, infinite, eternal, no change, no beginning, no end. Everything else is unreal. So that discrimination is necessary for a devotee. This discipline of discrimination is usually taught for the people following the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. But Sri Ramakrishna included in his teachings practice of discrimination between real and the unreal. Then Mr. Chaudhary asked a question. Sir, is it not possible to have the vision of God without the help of a guru? Is guru necessary? Mr. Chaudhary's question. And Sri Ramakrishna replies, Master, Sachidananda himself is the guru. At the end of Shava Sadhana, just when the vision of the Ishta is about to take place, the guru appears before the aspirant and says to him, behold, there is your Ishta. Ishta means chosen ideal. Saying this, the guru merges in the Ishta. He who is the guru is also the Ishta. Ishta means chosen ideal. The guru is the thread that leads to God. Women perform ritualistic worship known as the Ananta Vrata. The object of worship being the infinite. Ananta means infinite. But actually, the deity worshipped is Vishnu. In him are the infinite forms of God. So then it continues. The Guru is necessary. God himself is the Guru. Sachidananda alone is the Guru, he says several times. If somebody, a human being, comes in the form of a person, comes in the form of human being and teaches or shows us the way to God, then he is God himself, assuming that form to come and teach us to know him. That was the teaching that day. So we shall stop here and I shall say the closing prayer. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhattanukampa Dhrita Vigrakam Vai Ishavataram Parameshamedyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om, we bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all. All of you stay well. Thank you very much.